Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our session today, which is the art of visual storytelling. We have a special guest here today, this afternoon, Shruti Sharma, who's going to take the session for us. Let me introduce her briefly to all the audience, and then we'll move on to the session next. Shruti Sharma is a presentation wizard and a PowerPoint trainer. She helps professionals create more effective presentations by learning the art of visual storytelling and innovate with various tools that PowerPoint has to offer. An experiential marketing professional with 12 plus years of industry experience, she has created a niche in the presentation design space. She had worked with some of the best brands, empowered their teams, and given a visual direction to ideas and goals. In this workshop, she looks forward to making us a PowerPoint pro and helping you save hours of time and effort while working on your presentations. Very good afternoon, Shruti. Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to do this session for us and all our audience today. Very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Shiva, for such a beautiful introduction. I'm really excited to be holding this session for this bunch of people. I'm really looking forward to the next 90 minutes. I hope all of you are as excited as I am.
Absolutely. We are very excited. This is something that we use on a daily basis, and yet we neglect, to learn a lot of tricks and tips that the PowerPoint has to offer, where we use only the basics of PowerPoint. So we are very, very excited to get into the detail and learn a lot from you this afternoon. And I hope the same is with the audience today as well. So over to you, Shruti.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shiva. I can't wait to start now. Okay, all right. Hi, everyone. Before I begin this session, before I introduce myself or get into tools and tricks and all of that, I want to quickly ask all of you that why do you think presentation designing is so important? Why are we sitting here on a Friday evening learning about PowerPoint presentations? Well, we all have seen such slides, right? So either we have been a victim of such slides, which means we have sat through meetings in conference halls and seen other people presenting such slides, or maybe we have been a culprit ourselves. I mean, I personally am guilty of creating such slides years back. Let me show you one more. But does it mean that our ideas are bad? Does it mean our content is bad? What we are trying to say is not on point? Absolutely not. Maybe what you're trying to say through your presentation, your idea, your content, your design is absolutely perfect. Maybe the problem does not lie with the content, but the problem lies with the PowerPoint. And that is the problem that we are going to fix today through this workshop. Now, first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Shruti, and I am going to be your mentor for this particular session of visual storytelling through PowerPoint. I think Shiva has already said a lot of things about me, so I'm not going to get into all of that. So let's begin the session because I have a lot to cover, and I'm really excited to be teaching you all these beautiful tricks and tools that I'm sure that you'll be using every day in your PowerPoints. All right. We are going to open a Q&A in the last few minutes. In the meantime, if you think there's any concern that you want to raise, please feel free to raise your hand because I wouldn't be going through the chat again and again. It might break the flow. But if you have any concern, please raise your hand. All right.
And Shruti, I'll be here throughout the session to assist you with any questions or if anyone wants to interact with you during the course of the session.
Sure, that'll be perfect.
Great, thanks.
All right. So, guys, I think we all have seen such slides, right? Whether on Google, on Pinterest, on FreePic, and a lot of other websites. And we feel that, okay, wow, these slides look so nice, but maybe they're not for us because maybe sometimes our content is not similar. We don't know the tricks to use these kind of effects. And we don't know how to create the gradient. We don't know how to place the text and a lot other things. Especially, we always think that this kind of content doesn't work for us. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples first of why we need to change that mindset. So let's look at this slide. Very simple and basic slide has one header and 5 pointers, right? Can we present this differently using minimal efforts? Let me show you. Again, I haven't used many tricks here, just few basic ones, and the overall look and feel has drastically changed, right? Because especially when we emphasize on the visual aspect of storytelling, images play a very, very important role. So keep that in mind. Let's see one more slide. Now, this one I'm sure seems familiar because it has a decent amount of content and you have space for some sort of graphs or tables, etc. as well. Now, how can we present this differently? So the idea again is to think outside of the box. In this particular slide, for example, if I knew that if I add an image, it might overpower the slide and I want people to focus more on the content or, for example, these graphs, etc. Therefore, if you see, I have put a transparency layer on the image so that the monotony of the slide is broken by the image, but it's not overpowering the slide at the same time. So these are small things that I want you to notice and try to inculcate in your everyday presentation. I'm definitely going to teach you also as to how to do all of this. We'll come to that. Now let's look at this one. Again, a very similar slide, has a lot of content. There's a screenshot, there's a pie chart. And so what happens when you see a slide like this? Let's assume that you have a slide like this that you have to design. Automatically, our brain starts planning this slide in a similar manner. We plan a plus on our slide and we divide it into 4 parts and we start planning the content then, like do something with the font, add some picture, all of that. Again, it's perfectly all right to plan it in 4 parts, but can we look at differently? Can we plan it maybe like this instead of just creating that same plus and thinking inside the box? So again, the idea is to think of ways of how you can represent your data in the most interesting and effective manner, right? Let's look at one more example. So this is more like a process. One thing leads to another, second thing leads to third thing leads to fourth, and so on and so forth. Now, instead of putting it like in a bullet point format, why can't we present it like this? So the idea of this, so this slide that you see is an infographic slide, right? Infographics is basically any information that you give in a graphical manner. So what this does, first of all, it breaks down the data. So when you look at this slide, you won't even feel like reading because your mind can already see the chaos on the slide. In this one versus, you will see the data has been broken down. So you know there are 5 steps which are easier to read and register. Also, along with each step, there's an icon that is supporting it. So it really increases the your capability to absorb the data and register it in a much nicer and easier manner, basically, right? So always think of formats that will help people understand your data in a much better and effective manner. It also creates a higher recall value if the data is broken down in a nicer manner. Let's look at this slide. Again, a lot of data. There's a table, there's a chart, and a lot more. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate on the visual element of this aspect, and also on why data can be represented in different manners. So, for example, if you look at this table, if somebody gets this raw presentation, they will end up creating another table. But can we show table differently? So what is this? It basically shows number of sports venues in government clubs and private schools and colleges in 3 years, 2015, 19 and 24. So it's like a timeline or maybe a journey. Can this be shown differently? Well, look at this. Why can't we show this roadmap or this timeline in this manner? Why do we have to stick to a table format? So we have to break those formats and think outside of those. That's the whole idea. Now let's look at this slide. This is more like a not really a process but a cycle where one thing leads to second leads to third, and third comes back to the first. So what could be a better way to actually present it in a manner which actually shows that it is a cycle rather than just few pointers, right? So that really creates a huge impact of how you plan to go ahead with that. So we are going to look at a new way to think about presentation, which is the most important aspect of this workshop. I want to change the mindset of people who think PowerPoint is just to dump data or just to put data out there. All right. So why am I emphasizing so much on the visual storytelling aspect? Let's come to that. There's a recent study which says that people remember 10% of what they hear, 20% of what they read, but 80% of what they see and do. So our visual memories are much stronger than our other memories. So the idea is to show your audience, show your spectator, show your client, show your partner, whoever is watching the presentation, visuals that can relate to them, and create even plan your data in a visual manner so that it has much higher recall value, right? Now I'm going to begin with 10 commandments of designing, and then we are going to get into tools and hacks and all of that. Okay, we have a lot of stuff lined up today, and I'm sure these 90 minutes are going to be really, really useful for all of you if you all design presentations. All right. So these 10 commandments of designing are basically 10 things that people I would say should know about presentation. And if you have designed a presentation, just see if that presentation is resonating or agreeing with these 10 commandments and you're in a good place. So let's begin. So starting with the first one. No matter, I mean, I'm going to teach you about designing and all of that, but no matter how nicely you design the slides, how many tricks you use, how many elements you use, you always have to make sure that your idea should be the hero. So your content and your designing has to go around your idea, not the other way around. You don't start designing first and then think where to put my idea. That shouldn't be the case. So idea has to be the hero of your slide. That has to be the highlight. All right.
Hi,
On to
Shruti.
the second commandment when it comes to presentation. Sorry.
Shruti, sorry to interrupt here. We are losing your audio in between.
Oh, all right. 1 second. Let me quickly check.
Please.
Can you hear me now? Is it okay?
And now is good, but
Yeah?
it happened a couple of times that we lost your audio. I think it has
Okay,
to do with the
yeah.
internet connection, because whenever the connection is weak, you sort of lose the audio, right? That's what we hear.
Okay. All right. Is it all right now?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let me begin from the first point then. Okay. Starting with the first commandment that everybody should keep in mind, idea should be the hero when it comes to your presentation. Whenever you think about designing and elements and pictures and all of that, everything has to revolve around the idea and not the other way around, right? Because what you're trying to present through your presentation, whether it's an idea, whether it's a concept, whether it's design, whether it's a campaign, whatever it may be, that has to stand out in the presentation. So everything else has to be planned as per that to make sure that your idea stands out and become the hero. All right. Now moving on to the second point. When it comes to presentations, I think we have this thing of putting everything out on the slides. But our visual memories, as I said, is much stronger. So people tend to read everything out before you even have started talking about it. So that basically breaks the whole flow of your presentation. So make sure that you keep minimal stuff on your slide. Less is always more when it comes to presentation. Do not keep all the data out there. Try to talk through your presentation and keep content minimal. So there are two factors why it's important. One is, if you have lesser content on your slide, you will get much more scope to play with creative elements. You can have more images, you can have more shapes, you can play more with the designing aspect. That is one. Secondly, people have come to listen to you. They haven't come to see the presentation, right? Presentation is there to support you. All the graphics that you're have to present that. So always keep your content on the slides minimal. Show only what is important. That's very, very important point when it comes to presentation. Moving on to the third point. Try to create an experience through your presentation. Don't keep it just like a monologue, right? You can, in fact, these days you have a lot of things that you can include in your PowerPoint, such as videos, audios, GIFs, and a lot more. So try to create an experience through your PPT so that it has that higher recall value in the mind of the audience. Moving on to the fourth point. So this is a scientific rule which has been followed by a lot of people. So it's not something which is applicable for everybody or for each presentation. So remember that. But if you think that you can follow it, it's great. So this rule of 555 basically says that you should have maximum 5 words per line, maximum 5 lines per slide. And if you are going to have wordy slides or verbose slides, do not have more than 5 such slides in a row, because this rule has been made keeping in mind the registering power of people, how much they can register a human mind, basically the way we are hardwired. So I'm going to repeat this once again, the rule of 555. Do not have more than 5 words in one line. Do not have more than 5 lines per slide. And if you're going to have wordy slide, do not have more than 5 such slides in one row. And as I said, this is not applicable for all sort of slides, but if it, if you can follow this rule, it will work really nicely. Okay. Now moving on to fifth point, which is should look like one presentation. Now, what do I mean by that? When it comes to tools and hacks, especially when we learn all these new tricks and tools, we try to put in all in one presentation. And what happens when you do that? Each slide looks different. So always make sure that you follow a certain common element in slides so that it looks like one presentation. It could be a color. So if you're using the same background color, it could be a pattern. You're using the same sort of shape in all the slides. And of course, the font. So keep consistency in the presentation in terms of the slide so that it looks like one PPT and doesn't look like 5 different presentations. All right. Moving on to the next point. Well, this is again, I don't need to explain this. Do not do overkill when it comes to presentation. Keep it as simple as possible. Idea has to stand out. Everything else has to be simply put through in an effective manner. Now, again, this is something which happens a lot with people. People tend to get carried away amongst the designing and they forget the content. So your designing has to be planned keeping in mind the content. So what happens when people start designing, they start looking for inspirations online. So they'll go on Free Pick, Pinterest, Google, or whichever website. They see that, okay, this template scheme works well for me. And they start designing the presentation, whether the content is getting highlighted in that template scheme or not. So that doesn't really help. So your content has to be the hero, as I've said earlier. You have to plan your designing around the content and not the other way around. All right. Now, moving on to point 8, overview is a really, really important slide, I would say, which binds the complete presentation. I'm going to give you an example of this one later on. So I'm not getting into detail of this one. I'll show you my overview slide of this presentation and I'll explain it then. All right. Now, moving on to the 9th point, which is revise and proofread. Well, I think this is something I don't need to explain. We all know the importance of revising a presentation and proofreading, making sure there's no spelling mistakes, making sure there's no formatting mistakes. So whenever you're done with your presentation, always, so right now, if I go on this mode, you might not be able to catch some flaws. Always check your presentation on full screen mode, the entire presentation, to see there are no gaps, there's no formatting issue, there's no spelling error. And of course, you can use the PowerPoint tools to make sure the spellings are all right. Okay. Now, moving on to the last point. Well, can you believe the attention span of smartphone generation, which is all of us? How much do you think would that be? It's actually between 6 to 8 seconds. Can you believe that? It's less than attention span of a goldfish. So what happens when you're presenting any presentation? Let's say it's a 30-minute presentation. By the time you are on the last 10 minutes of your presentation, people would have already forgotten the first 20 minutes. So always, sorry, is somebody trying to talk through? Okay. So what you should do is try to keep a recap slide in the end. So recap slide doesn't mean that you put all your slides there. Just your key ideas, your main pointers, your main content, your designs, whatever you're presenting, have all of that on one slide and try to, talk about that slide in the end so that people have higher recall value when they walk out of your meeting. Otherwise, honestly, people tend to forget the stuff very, very easily. So create a recap slide. In fact, in this one, towards the end of my workshop, I'm going to tell you a very, very interactive and interesting manner of creating a recap or a summary slide. All right. So these were 10 commandments that you should keep in mind, which is absolutely important for any presentation maker. Now, without any further delay, we are going to get into all the tools and hacks. Now, if you remember, I was just speaking about the overview slide. So this slide, for example, is my overview slide, which encapsulates the complete, you can say a summary, or you can say also like an index. So I'm going to come back to this slide again and again after each section because this slide is binding my presentation. So I'm going to take you through all that I'm going to teach you today, and then we are going to move forward. So we are going to begin with some time-saving hacks. These are quick hacks that you're going to love, and I'm sure they'll help you save time every time you are designing a presentation. We are going to learn the importance of alignment and distancing and how to format any slide in less than 5 minutes. We are going to learn about design language, what design language consists of, how to crack any brand's design language, understanding the color psychology, how to combine colors using scientific method of color wheel, using a few tools like eyedropper, how to play with fonts and shapes, and then we are going to end with summary zoom, which is the interactive way of presenting a summary or a recap slide. So now if you see, I'm going to show this slide again and again, and now I have highlighted only one part and rest all are faded away. So this is my binding slide through my complete workshop. So the overview slide is extremely important to bind your complete presentation. All right. Now let's begin. Also, all the questions I'm going to take once we are done with all the tools and hacks. I'm going to get into all the questions one by one. Don't worry. So let's begin with the first hack that we have. So I know most of you would know what Format Painter is. That is not the hack that I'm going to teach you, but I'm going to teach you something even more interesting than that, which I'm sure a lot of people, even who work on PowerPoint, do not know about. Now let's look at this. So for all those people who do not know what Format Painter is, I'm quickly going to tell you. So Format Painter lets you copy properties of one object onto another one. Okay. For example, if you see this text, you will see that I have worked on this text, right? There's the font is different, the size is bigger, the color is different. There's an outline. Also, there's a shadow. Now let's say I have to copy this font multiple times on all these sentences that you see at the bottom. So you can use Format Painter. So generally what you do is you select the thing from which you want to copy the property, go to this brush that you see on the home page which says Format Painter, and now copy on the second thing where you want to copy it. And you will see the properties have been copied. Now what if you want to do it multiple times on all these sentences plus also on other slides? In that case, you will have to keep going back to Format Painter and keep clicking, which could be quite time consuming, right? So I'm going to show you a quick trick, which is not less than magic trick. So I'm going to click on this. Now, instead of clicking once, I'm going to click twice on Format Painter. And now I'm going to just click on, all the sentences where I want to copy the properties. And as I said, you can do it on multiple slides. Look at this. I'm going to quickly tell you this once again. In order to copy properties of any object, click on that once, double click on Format Painter, and then keep clicking on other places where you want to copy the property. It works on shapes and images too. So for example, if you look at this shape, you can see that I've worked on this. The color is black. There's a gradient, thicker outline, which is very sketchy, and there is also a yellow glow. Now, if I want to copy the properties of this object on these ones, all I have to do is click on this, double click on Format Painter here, and I can keep clicking on multiple elements across the slides. It's as simple as that. So this is extremely useful and will help you save a lot of time, trust me. Now moving on to, also guys, if you like these tricks and if you like what I'm teaching you, please keep giving your feedback in the chat box. I would love to know how you're liking it. And if you're finding it useful, that will be really, really helpful for me to understand. All right. Now, starting with the second hack, which is Control D. Well, we all know what Control C and Control V is, right? Which is copy and paste. That must be one of the first thing that we must have learned probably when we started using computers. Now, what is Control D? Control D basically is a trick that lets you copy, elements, but not just copy. Put it in a formatted manner. Let me tell you why and how. For example, if I have to copy this dot and this sentence multiple times, but I have to make sure the alignment is perfect, which means everything has to be left aligned and the distance between each thing has to be same. Now, if you have to do it manually, it could take a lot of time. What if I tell you, you can actually do this in one command using Control D. So click on the sentence and I'm only pressing Control D, which has made a copy. Okay. I'm going to now decide the location. For example, let's say that I want to put it here and I want to make sure the distance is this much. Now I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to use my mouse. All I'm going to do is press Control D. Sorry. I'll have to do it once again. Okay. Control D. Decide the location and distance. Now Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. As many times as you want, you can keep pressing it. I'm going to do the same with this, the bullet point that I put over here, the circular one. Press Control D, decide your distance. And now all you have to do is Control D, Control D, Control D. Keep pressing it as many times as you'd like. It's as simple as that. I'm going to tell you this once again. Now, if I have to create a slide like this, which means I have to create the multiple versions that are there, you can create one, copy it all together, do Control D, select it, decide the distance, and all you have to do is Control D, Control D, Control D. It's as simple as that. I just want you to know one thing, which a lot of people do this mistake. So what people do is they generally choose the object, do Control D, decide the location, and they unselect it. For example, right now this is selected, right? They click outside. If you click outside, the Control D function wouldn't work because it has to measure the distance from the selected object. So when you do Control D, let this thing be selected. Right now it is selected, right? Now you can keep pressing Control D. So do not unselect it or click outside. All right. So that's your second time-saving hack, which is Control D. Moving on to the third one, which tells you about how to lock drawing mode and use it multiple times. So, for example, if you remember, I taught you about Format Painter, using Format Painter multiple times, right? Same way, you can actually use this mode that I'm going to teach you. So these slides, I'm sure, look familiar, right? You use these for your team structures, you use this for hierarchies, you use this for flow charts. Now, what you have to do generally is you go to Insert, Shapes, you choose the shape. For example, I'm using this one with one arrow, and now we connect these. Now we have to go again on Insert, again go to Shape, again choose it, and do this thing again, right? What if I tell you you can actually lock this mode and use it multiple times? Now go to Insert, Shapes, go to the connector that you want to go to. Don't click on it, right click and do Lock Drawing Mode. Right click on the connector and do Lock Drawing Mode, and now you can actually use it multiple times without having to go back because you have locked this mode, which means you can use it across the slide till the time you don't really press Escape or you press outside. You can keep doing this. Look at this. I can use it as many times as I want now. I don't have to go back there, and it saves a lot of time. Trust me. It's as simple as that. Now, let's start with the fourth. Now, this is one of my favorite hacks, trust me, and I use it all the time. So we all love to use icons, right? We all love to use infographics. And now the newer version of PowerPoint, so I'm using Office 365, which is the latest version. It has a lot of inbuilt icons, okay? So I have taken these two icons from PowerPoint itself. You can go to Insert, Icons, and choose the icons from here. And that's what I have done in this presentation. Now, what if I want to, for example, use this particular infographic, but I want to use it like step 1, step 2, step 3. And I want to also animate it and put different colors to each of these steps. Generally, you cannot do that because, if I'm clicking on it, the whole color becomes one.
Shruti, we lost you again.
And if I have to animate, can you hear me? 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me just give me 1 second. I'll just refresh my system also once again.
Sure. I think it has to do with the internet connection, Shruti.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just quickly checking that.
Yeah. And if you can please repeat the current slide, that'll be great.
Sure. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to start with this now. Is it better?
Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat this one, the lock drawing mode?
No, I think this we've all heard.
Okay, I'll start with the
from the next. Yes. This is.
Also, do you think, Shiva, should I, 1 second, is it better without the video? Is it better, or should I switch on my video?
That works too, yeah. Because we see the presentation in full screen.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to begin with this again. So we all love to use icons in PowerPoint, right? And especially infographics. But we always have restrictions when it comes to PowerPoint. For example, if I want to use this particular icon, and let's say I want to use step 1, step 2, step 3, I want to put different color to each step, and I also want to animate them differently. Generally, what happens when you are using any inbuilt PowerPoint icon and you click on it, it takes the same color. No matter what color you choose, it will take the same color. And even if you try to animate it, it will happen together. Now, this is the trick that I'm going to teach you, which I'm sure nobody has told you. You can break down the icons, which are inbuilt PowerPoint icons. For example, I'm going to right click. Once you right click, click on this thing called convert to shape. The moment you do that, you will see that each element has become an individual unit. It's no more one single unit. So now, for example, if I want to color this, let's say blue color, second one is orange is fine, and third one I want to put green, I can do that. I can also animate them separately. So first element, animate, second element, animate, and third element, which is third step, animate. So if you see it on full screen, it will come like this: step 1, step 2, step 3. So that is what you can do. I'm going to show this once again to all of you. Now, look at this. This is like a team slide. Now, let's say I want to use this icon, which is again a PowerPoint inbuilt icon. I'm using Office 365, which is the latest version of PowerPoint, in case you'd like to know. Now, I'm going to right click and do convert to shape. In this case, if you see, I'm going to do this once again. And look at this. All these are now individual units, right? Now, if I want to add more team members, let's say I want to add 3 more members, I can do that. If I want to put these lines, I can do that as well, putting these connectors. So it gives me a lot more flexibility to play with when it comes to icon, which generally wasn't possible when it comes to PowerPoint. I can put different colors for different team, levels. For example, this one is green, the second one could be blue, or the third one could be purple. So whatever colors you want to go ahead, you can animate them separately. You can do all of that. Now, there's only one thing that I want to tell you. If you are wanting to use this feature, choose the icons which have breaks in between. For example, something which is one picture, there's no break in between. For example, this one. Now, if you use this icon, it won't break down because there's no break in between, right? Versus, let's see, if you try to use this icon, this one you can see has breaks in between, right? There are multiple elements already. So if I'm going to convert this to shape, right click, convert to shape, you can see the multiple elements have been created. But if I do the same thing here, nothing will happen because it's one unit. So always remember that. And trust me, it is going to really, really help you. Okay. Now, moving on with the fifth fifth time-saving hack. And also I'm going to highlight one more thing because a lot of people are asking here, are we going to get this presentation? How are we going to revise all this? So I'm going to tell you one way using which you can revise a lot of things that I'm teaching you right here, even after the workshop, even after this webinar. So I'm going to teach you this method of inserting videos without downloading it. All right. Generally, whenever we have to, insert a video in a slide, we end up going to maybe YouTube downloader or use certain website which might not be safe for our system. We download it and then we try to insert that video. So I'm going to teach you another method which you can use. Now let's go to YouTube first. So first of all, guys, this is my YouTube channel. If you want to revise some of the stuff, you can do that. The name of the channel is Power of PowerPoint with Shruti Sharma. You can check out the videos and learn some amazing tricks. Some of these I'm teaching you today, and this has a few more as well. So for example, if I want to go to this video and I want to insert this video in my presentation, I'm going to copy the link, go to insert, go to video. So when you click on video, you see 3 options. This device, which means you have to insert video from this device, stock video or online video. I'm going to click on online video. So PowerPoint can actually grab videos for you from YouTube, SlideShare, Vimeo, StreamGrid, and Flipgrid. Okay. So I'm going to insert the video address, online video link. It will fetch the video for me. Now, all I have to do is click on insert And in less than 30 seconds, your video will be inserted on your slide. So you don't have to necessarily download the video. Look at this. It's much lesser time consuming. So right now you might think the video is looking a little blurred, but the moment you play the video, it will play within next 10 to 20 seconds and it will play flawlessly. Look at this. Yeah. So that's how you can insert any video in PowerPoint without having to download it. Okay. I'm quickly going to tell you without doing it. I'm just revising the step for you. Click on insert, go to video, go to this device, go to online videos, insert the link of the video that you want to insert and do insert. That's it. It's as simple as that. You can insert a video like that. I'm going to quickly show you the name of the channel again so you can take a screenshot, or if you want to take a picture. You can check out some really interesting videos here and learn a lot more about PowerPoint. It's called The Power of PowerPoint with Shruti Sharma. All right. Now let's move again with the next one. So these were some time-saving hacks that I'm sure that you all would be using a lot in PowerPoint presentations. Now I'm going to come to the second important thing, which is alignment and distances. You know, a lot of people ask me, what is that one thing that we can do to make sure that our presentation looks nice? So besides adding images or adding the visual aspect, the second thing that I tell you is always about alignment and distances. Something which basically makes your presentation look formatted and neat. Let me show you how. So let's look at this slide. You can see all these shapes, and along with shapes, there are icons in the center. Everything is aligned, right? It's top aligned. The distance between each element is same. Now, if we have to do it for, let's say, this slide, whenever we are, copying it or drawing it, this is how we, insert. If we have to align all of this in one single command, how can we do that? So these have to be aligned from left to right, which means horizontally, not vertically, right? Now, I'm going to select all these. First of all, decide if you have to plan it horizontally, which means left to right. Decide the top, like the most left and the most right location. Like this is going to be my most right location. Everything else has to be in the middle. Selecting all, go to shape format, go to align. Now, first of all, I want them to be aligned middle. Align middle. Go to align again and use distribute horizontally, which will make sure that all your boxes have the same distance. Look at this. Now, within 2 commands, your all boxes have been aligned, right? Let me show you now another thing. What if you have to insert the icons as well? Can we use the same trick? Let's say that we decide the left location, the right is fine. Choose all, go to shape format, align, middle is fine, distribute horizontally. Well, it did not work, right? The reason it did not work is because right now it's taking icon also as separate elements, right? So it's distributing, keeping in mind those. What you have to do is you have to first insert icons between each box and align those. So I'm going to select these. Use the align feature again. Align center, align middle. So can you see the box has been properly aligned? And now I'm going to group them. I'm using this shortcut called Control G to group the items together so that it becomes one unit. Like for example, this now is one unit, right? Let's do the same thing again. Choose both the elements, align center, align middle, Control G to group them. Third element, align center, align middle, Control G. Fourth element, align center, align middle, Control G. So this makes sure that you don't have to manually align anything. So everything is aligned perfectly to the T. Control G, last second, align center, align middle, Control G, and the last one, align center, align middle, Control G. Now these are separate units, right? But icons and box is one unit. I'm going to select them all. Go to go to shape format, align middle, and distribute horizontally. Look at this. Perfect alignment along with perfect alignment of icons inside. So whenever you're making infographics, you want to put icons on inside the shape, use alignment feature to make sure that you don't have to do it manually, right? Now, let me show you one more example. This one, let's go with this. If you have to align things vertically, so let's say that this is how you want to see the slide. But right now, when you are obviously putting data, it looks something like this. what I'm going to do is decide the top and the bottom location. Top, this is fine. Bottom, this is perfect. I'm going to choose all the elements in between. Go to shape format, align, align left, align, and now distribute vertically. Look at this, right? So it's as simple as that. You can use alignment feature for a complicated slide like this as well. Align these things together, then you have to center align all these. So it will take time, but this feature makes your life very, very easy. Now look at this slide. Because a lot of people say that we have a lot of content, no matter what we do, our presentation doesn't look nice. So in this slide, I haven't used any visual element, like there's no image, there's nothing great, but it looks like a neat and clean slide. And that is mainly because of alignment and distances. Everything is properly and neatly aligned, and that creates a huge difference. All right. Now moving on to the second aspect, which is design language. What is design language? Now, if you look at any brand, be it Vodafone, be it Airtel, be it, let's say, JK Tire, any brand, every brand follows a certain design language. Let's say that you have to create a presentation for an external brand, for your client, for your partner, or like not for your own organization. How do you plan how to decide the design language? First of all, I'll tell you what design language consists of. Design language consists of three things: colors, shapes, and fonts. These are three things that any design language consists of. Now, if you look at Vodafone, for example, I have to crack their design language because I want to make sure that in my presentation, I use their design language. First of all, we'll see the color. So the brand color, it's very easy to understand. You can check out their website, you can check out their social media pages, their outdoor ads, their online videos, and a lot more these days. That's not a problem anymore because we live in the age of internet. So the color is fine. Now see the font. Now for the headline, they use a thicker, rounder font, and for their sub content, they're using thin, simpler font. And now let's come to the third thing, which is shapes. They have this unique shape that they use for their advertisements, their posters, etc. So these three things now have become a part of your design language that you can actually use for your own presentation that you're creating for them. Let's look at an example. This is for GSK. Let's start with color. So for the color, they use this gradient, which is a yellowish version, which is transitioning into orange. For the shape, they're using this heartbeat shape, which is also their logo shape. Now for the font, they use a very simple Arial looking font. If you look at this, which is bolder for the headline and it's thinner for the sub-content. So that's how you can decide and crack any brand's design language to create a presentation for them. Now moving on with the first element. So design language, as I said, consists of colors, fonts, and shapes. I'm going to cover few features from all three parts of design language. We are going to begin with color first. So first of all, it's very, very important to understand color psychology. Why do we use a particular color for a particular brand? So each color has a certain emotion that it denotes. For example, if we look at, let's say, medical brands like hospitals or chemists or these pharmaceutical brands, so you'll see them using a lot of green, whether it's Fortis, whether it's Apollo, whether it's 98.4, they all have green color in their logos, right? Because green color talks about health, hope, balance, reassurance, which is what they're trying to connect with. Versus if we look at, let's say, IT brands, whether it's HP, whether it's Convergys or Genpact, they use a lot of blue because blue is associated with trust, technology, honesty, those sort of terms or emotions, right? If we look at brands like Vodafone, Airtel, they are fun brands. So they use a red color, which is fun, excitement, action, passion, those sort of emotions. So it's very important to make sure that what sort of color works for your presentation, keeping in mind the theme of the PPT. All right. Now, second challenge that I face a lot is that I see a lot of people asking is how to combine colors. So this thing that you see on the right hand side is called a color wheel. It's a scientific method of choosing a color or combining multiple colors. So color wheel has possibly all colors that are there, or you can combine colors to create new colors. So it starts from very, very light color hues and tints, and it moves on and keep getting darker for each color family, right? Now let me show you after this how to combine color as well. So in color wheel, the colors are divided into three ways. So one is cool colors and warm colors. So as the name suggests, cool colors are your blues, your greens, your purples, and warm colors are your sunshades, like your yellows, mustards, orange, red. Now, if you see, these are your warm colors versus these are your cool colors. Also, colors are divided into hues, tints, tones, and shade, which are basically starting from the lighter to the darkest. All right. Now, why color wheel and how to use it? Sometimes people think that, okay, I know that I have to create a presentation for a brand which has blue as the main color, but I don't know which is the other color that I can combine with it. And you want to make sure that your presentation looks best, right? For which you need to know which other color. So use color wheel. How color wheel works is create a straight line anywhere. Like you can keep moving it like in a clockwise manner. Any two colors that are opposite each other are going to be complementary color, whether it's yellow and blue, whether it's this mustard and purple, this bright yellow and purple. So just keep moving this like a clock around, and these two colors are going to be complementary colors. Similar way, if you have to use three colors, you can use analogous color, which is create any three colors which are next to each other, keep moving this chain around. Like these three colors are going to be analogous color, these three are going to be analogous color. I'm going to show you these color scheme as well to explain you further. Now, third is monochromatic color scheme, which is basically color scheme of the same color family, where you actually go to color wheel and pick the color of the same family from the bottom till the end, which means from the lightest to the darkest one. All right. Now, let me show you other schemes. If you have to choose three color, you can also use split complementary scheme, which is create a triangle, which is not an equilateral triangle, it's an isosceles triangle. And you can keep moving this triangle around, and these three colors are going to be split complementary color, no matter which color, three color you use. If you create a equal side triangle, equilateral triangle, this will be called tried color. And again, these three colors are going to go well with each other. The same way you can create a rectangular shape and it can become a tetradic color. Now these are few examples of monochromatic color scheme. This is same family. As you can see, presentation is absolutely all the slides have the same color family. This is complementary color, which is color opposite each other. So orange and blue, red and green, these are all complementary colors. Orange and blue, again red, green, blue and yellow. This is analogous color scheme, which is three color next to each other, as you can see over here. Examples of presentation of analogous color. These are tetradic colors, which are four colors in a rectangular next to each other. So that's basically color psychology and color wheel, how to combine color. Now coming to the color dropper feature. There are times when we have to create presentation for a brand, or maybe we liked certain color scheme online and we want to use the same color scheme. Now it becomes difficult to pick the same color. For example, if I have to create something for Twitter and I want Twitter blue, generally we go to the colors and choose something which is almost close to it. But when you actually see, it might not be same, right? So what you could do instead, you could use this feature of color dropper. So now if I want to pick color, go to shape fill. Instead of choosing color from here, go to eyedropper. Click on that and pick the color like this. Again, if you want Pinterest red, go to shape fill, eyedropper, Pinterest red. If you want Amazon orange, shape fill, eyedropper, and Amazon orange. If you want to pick Facebook blue, shape fill, eyedropper, Facebook blue. If you want to pick, let's say, Android green, go to colors, go to eyedropper and Android green. Sorry, let me do it once again. Eyedropper and Android green. So you can see it picks color basically wherever you go, right? So choose the color that you want to go ahead with, and you can pick any color from any JPEG. Okay. Now, how can we use it besides this? So, for example, if we want to use images, and sometimes these images are not full screen images, they don't cover the entire surface. This is only applicable for single color backgrounds like this one. Okay. In this one, if I want to make it full screen, what you could do is go to format background, go to colors, go to eyedropper, and pick this color. So this becomes like an entire slide color for you. It becomes like a full picture slide. Same thing you can do here. Go to format background, color, eyedropper, and pick the color. Works beautifully. Another thing that you can do is pick the color for your text to make it look complementary. As you can see right now, the color is looking almost dead over here. I'm going to go to color of text, eyedropper, and pick the color from the image itself. Like I'm picking this red, or you can go and pick, let's say, this blue, or you can go pick the black or the dark gray color. Look at this. You can see the difference in how beautifully the colors are coming along, right? Now coming to the last feature of color, which is transparency. So we all have seen such slides and we think that they look really nice, but how to do that is a challenge, which I'm going to show you. Now let's say this is a slide and you want to create a transparency layer over it. All you have to do is get a shape. Let's say this much is a transparency layer, and I'm going to pick orange color from the map itself. Okay. All you have to do is go to format shape and play with this bar to decide the transparency. How much transparency do you want? You can decide. And you're good to go. Your transparency layer is over here. You can put your content over here and the picture will still be visible. The same way, let's say you want to create something like this. Okay, I have taken this image. I am going to insert a shape. Text is already there. We are going to create a stripe over here. Go to shape fill. Eyedropper, I'm picking the color from this gentleman's suit itself. And now to play with transparency, just play with this bar and you're good to go. I'm going to go to like bring the text in the front, bring to front. And look at this, you have created a slide with transparency. As simple as that. Same thing here. If I have to create something like this, my slide is here, but my text is not visible. I am going to bring a shape on top of it. Let's say give it a black color, plan the transparency, and bring my content to the front. Look at this. And you have created the slide in less than 2 minutes without any, any fuss. So that's basically color transparency. Now moving on to the next part, which is typography, which we call as font as well. Now I'm going to teach you a few things. A lot of people keep asking what should be the font size of the headline, subheading, and all of that. So I'm going to tell you all those answers. How to handle text like a designer. Okay. So starting with the first thing, which is your font size. What should be the font size? So guys, there's no right answer to that. It completely depends on your presentation. It completely depends on your theme, your audience. But having said that, if you're talking about any regular corporate PPT, I would say 36 font size is good enough for your headline, and for your sub content, anything from 12 to 14 or 18 point is decent. But now there's no right or wrong, because if you look at these slides, so right now the text size is very basic and like it's good for corporate presentation, which looks nice, right? Same for this. But if you're trying to make a statement, you could use font size as big as this, which is actually more than 120. So there's again no right or wrong. Look at this. You could use a font size and it's looking nice. But as I said, for corporate PPT, you can stick to a certain font. But if you're creating something which is creative, presentation, or let's say you are creating a campaign or you're trying to make a statement, please don't restrict yourself with font sizes. Do what looks nice for your slide. Okay. Now, second thing is leading. Leading is basically the space between two lines in a sentence. So if you make it too, close to each other, it might look difficult to read. If you make it too large like this, it will become probably, they will look like different sentences. So make sure that leading space is same. Now, for most of the times, it's absolutely fine. But when you're using thematic font like this one, in this case, leading space is a problem. First of all, let me tell you how leading space can be changed. So if you go over here, this basically shows leading space. So one is a default setting, 1.5 to 2.5. This basically tells you the leading space. Now for these sort of fonts, it's perfectly fine, right? One works. If you want to increase, you can make it 1.5. But sometime when you're using thematic font like this one, now even minimum of 1 is too much for this, right? So what you'll have to do is you have to break down this into two parts, the sentence, like this one I've done. And I manually adjusted the space over here. Look at this one now. Again, it's a thematic font. So you can make it 1, because if you think 1 is basically, like in 1, I feel that this is a little cluttered. So make it 1.5. Same over here. Thematic font, if you make it 1, it looks too close to each other, you can make it 1.5. So decide the leading space. All right. Now, moving on to the next part, which is when it comes to fonts, I think it always helps to list down your favorite fonts, what works for you. Decide 7 to 8 fonts at least, so that you can experiment a lot in the presentation with them. Okay, now how to pair fonts. It's always advisable to use font from the same family. For example, if you download a certain font type, it will come with multiple fonts. There'll be condensed, light, bold, all of that. So try to use font from the same family. It will always work better. All right. Now, moving on with how to pair fonts. So one thing is that you always have to make sure that the fonts are from the same family. Secondly, if for example you have a headline, you have a subheading, and you have a content further down, try to stick to same type cases. For example, my heading is bolder, my subheading is italics, and my rest of the content is plain. Because if you keep experimenting, it will look cluttered like this one. All right. Now, coming to the fonts, we all know PowerPoint has some amazing fonts, right? But did you know that you can actually download thematic fonts, and the world out there of fonts is just insane? Now look at these fonts. This font, for example, this looks like a very comic-y font, right? Like this font is called it's called Bada Boom. It's a font that you can use for a, let's say, superhero theme thing. Versus this font, which you can see is very thematic and very chalk kind of a font, sketchy font, right? This you could use for a kids presentation. This is a thematic font. This one is a corporate font. So there are a lot of fonts available out there, and a font can make or break your slide, and I'll show you how. So look at this slide versus look at this one. Can you see the difference? All the elements are same except the font, and the font is making the slide look so nice. Look at this. This presentation for a spiritual channel launch, and you can see how nicely this thematic font is making the slide look and bringing out the spirituality, holistic feel to the presentation. Let's look at this. This was created for a kids presentation, and as you can see the theme just by looking at the font. Same over here. This is something which was created for Mama Earth, and you can see the font itself talks through, creating that niche and luxury feel. Same over here. And look at the difference. Everything else is same, but how a font can change your slide is just amazing. This was created for a technology-oriented presentation. Again, this is like a motivational thematic slide. Now look at the difference between this and this. The only difference is actually font. Yeah. Now I'm going to teach you what are the things that you need to keep in mind while downloading the font, and also how to download a font. So one thing is legibility, which is the readability. You have to make sure that the font is readable enough. The thickness has to be fine. The way the words are formed has to be fine. So you have to keep in mind readability, spacing between letters, thickness, and theme. The website that I would recommend are these three. I'm quickly going to show you how to download and install a font. So let's go over here. So right now, this website is called dafont.com. I'm going to go over here, and let's say I'm typing futuristic. Okay, and let's search. Look at the options. Versus if you go to Dafont, you can choose your fonts from either here. Like I'm clicking on handwritten. And these are your handwritten fonts. And the number of options are insane. Like right now I'm on page 1. There are page up to 726. So for example, if I have to download this particular font, I'm going to click on download. And the font is downloaded over here. Let's do that. This is my font. Right click. Extract all. Extract. The font is here. Just right click on the font and do install. Sorry, 1 second. Right click and install. And your font has been installed. Now what happens when you download and install a font and you're trying to see it on your PowerPoint, sometimes it doesn't show, because whenever you have downloaded a new font, always try to basically shut down all your PowerPoints and then reopen them again, because sometimes it gets stuck. Whenever you have downloaded a font, it probably wouldn't show in the first time. So always make sure, just give me 1 second. I'm going to open the presentation once again. It's not responding for 1 second. So whenever you're downloading and installing a font, always try to make sure that you shut down all your PowerPoint presentation before you actually start using the font. Okay, I'm going to open this once again. I'm so sorry for this inconvenience. Okay, opening it once again. So the name of the website that you could use, my favorite websites, one is dafont.com, which is dafonts.com. The other one is 1001fonts.com. These two are my all-time favorite websites that I use all the time. So you could try using them. I'm sure that you're going to find these websites absolutely interesting and very, very useful. All right. Now coming back to our content, I'm quickly going to share my screen once again. Okay. Now coming to the next part, which is shapes. So we are done with colors and we are done with typography. Moving on to shapes, I'm going to teach you two interesting features about shapes. We are going to cover summary zoom and then we'll open the floor for the questions. Okay. So when it comes to shape, we all know PowerPoint has some shapes to offer, right? What if I tell you that you can create your own shapes as well? Like, for example, if this is my slide, I want to change certain thing in the shape. What you could do is right click, do edit points, and look at this. You can actually change the shape. So all your edges will become editable. You can do anything with this. Look at this. I'm going to show it once again. Right click, edit points, and all your edges have become editable like this. So you can play with them, you can create new shapes. But what if you want to create something like this? For this, what if I tell you that you can actually add things? For example, right click, edit points. You can add more edit points over here. So I'm adding one, and you can see it has become editable, and I can add one over here, and this is perfectly editable for you. I'm going to also tell you how we use it. So if you look at this, this is basically Hero logo. So I had to design a presentation for Hero and I had to use this shape. Now this shape is not there in PowerPoint. So I can actually trace this shape using this feature. Look at this. Let's double click. Shape fill 0 so that I can see the shape behind. Right click, edit points. And you can actually trace this shape. Look at just like this. Same thing over here. And your shape is done. Bring it here. You can also copy the color using eyedropper and you have a perfect shape along with perfect color right in front of you. Right? How easy and simple that is to use. I'm going to show this thing to you once again. Now let's look at this slide. This is something that I created for a futuristic theme presentation. Now, if you see these two slides, you can easily see the difference in readability of this versus this. Right? So this is how the JPEG was when I actually downloaded. This is the JPEG. Now I thought, why don't I use this particular shape since I have a inbuilt shape from the image itself. So I've taken a five-sided image, five-sided shape fill 0 so that I can see, the background behind, and I'm going to give it a brighter outline, which is visible. Now we'll start tracing the shape. Edit points. All I'm doing is just tracing it simply. Very, very simple and very easy. Trust me, it is as easy as it looks. Clicking here. And now I have to add one more edit point over here. So click and add point and you're good to go. Now you can make the shape fill whichever color I'm making it black, shape outline 0. And you can play with the transparency by just format shape and transparency like this. Decide the transparency levels. I'm going to make it further okay, this one works fine. Bring your font to the front and you're good to go. Look at this. If you feel there's some certain discrepancy, you can always work with that like this. Perfect. And you're good to go. That's how easy it is. All right. Now moving on to the last part of shape, this is a super interesting part. As you know that I keep emphasizing on using the visual storytelling aspect and using images, right? But whenever we have a lot of content, we can't use full screen images. So I'm going to teach you 2-3 tricks that you can use to insert pictures into shape and create slides like this, and this. Okay, and many more, of course. These are just few examples. Now let's begin with this. First, let me show you what the tricks are. Actually, I'm going to show you 2 tricks. The third one is not really required because these 2 are much more effective. So let's say you want to, first of all, get our picture over here that we want to insert and that we want to use for our shape. So this is my image. I'm going to make 3 copies of this image so that I can show you 2-3 times for you to register. Also, you can check out this one on my YouTube channel as well. Okay, so these are 3 images, right? Now, if I want to insert this image into a picture, all I have to do is double click, go to picture format, click on this arrow at the bottom of crop to shape, and choose the shape that you want to insert it into. Look at this. Within 5 seconds, you're done, right? Let's see it once again. Click on this, go to crop to shape. Now, let's say you want to insert it into a circular shape. This is circle. I'm going to click on it. But you can see that it's an oval shape and not circle because the aspect ratio is not fine. So go to aspect ratio and make it 1:1. So aspect ratio basically is for shapes like circle or square which have equal number of sides or radius is always 1:1. And look at this, you have a perfect circle. Let's try it once again. Go to crop to shape. Let's choose, whenever you feel the aspect ratio is not fine, always change that. So I'm going to choose this teardrop shape. And I feel again this looks distorted. Aspect ratio 1:1, and you have a perfect shape now, right? So this is a great method of inserting pictures into shape. You can create any of this using this. The only challenge is if you have created your own shape using edit points. In that case, you might not be able to use this feature. And I'm going to tell you how you can do that, how you can, there's an alternate way of creating that. So let's start with this one. So let's say you have to create a slide like this. Now this shape is not there in PowerPoint, right? If you check out insert and shapes, the closest you have is this, which is the other way around. So I'm going to trace this shape. Let's create a rectangular box. Shape fill 0. And outline yellow is fine. Right click, edit points, tracing the shape. The shape has been traced. Perfect. Now look at this feature very carefully. I'm going to show this separately to you and then we are going to come to this slide. Okay. So in order to use the second feature, so let's say that I am going to edit points. I have this particular thing that I've created using edit points and I want to insert picture into this. Okay. Making it full screen, or actually not full screen. Let's keep it till here. Edit points. Now, if I want to insert a picture into this, I'm going to get the picture that I want to insert. Let's say this is the image. You have to be very, very careful when you're using this feature. Now, please see this very carefully. I'm going to select the image first. It's very important to select the image first. Press Control, select the shape. Once you have selected both the elements, go to shape format, go to merge shapes and do intersect. So look at this. Your picture has been inserted into the shape. I'm going to show this once again to you. Now this is my shape. I'm going to get an image. Let's say this is the image. Let's choose this one. Send to back. Now decide what area do you want. If I want this much area, this is perfect. Okay. Choose the image first always. Press Control, choose the shape. Go to shape format, merge shapes and intersect. Look at this. Now, if you have to suppose change the image in this, you don't have to do the exercise again. Just right click, change picture and choose the image that you want to change it. So that's how simple it is. I'm going to quickly show this once again. So let's say you have to create this sort of slide. Now, rest of the elements are easy. Only this triangular with the shape is something we are going to look at. So I'm going to create a triangular shape. Let's quickly trace this using edit points. You don't need edit points since it's a basic triangle. You can just pull it further and trace it. Done. Now let's get an image that we want to insert inside. Whichever image you want to. So let's say I want to insert this image. Okay. I'm going to bring this to front so that I can see. Make shape fill 0. Decide what area do you want. Like I want this area and I'm going to zoom it out further. Now select the image. Always choose the image first. Press Control. Choose the shape format, merge shapes, and intersect. And look at this. You're absolutely same picture you've created, just like the one that you saw in the background, right? That's how you can insert any picture into the background. Now coming to the last but not the least, summary zoom. So initially I told you I'm going to teach you a very, very interesting method of using recap slide or a summary slide, right? A very interactive one. Now let's say I have to, first of all, let me show you what summary slide is. So I have created this summary slide, which has these 6 slides that I, for example, want you to take you through again. So I can click on the slide from here, talk about it, talk about the main features, and come back to my actual slide. I can go to the next slide. From here itself, talk about it, features, and come back. I can go to the next slide, and like this, I can go to all of these slides and come back. It's as simple as that. Now let me show you how to do this. Again, it's very simple. It might look complicated, but it's absolutely simple. Go to Insert, go to Zoom, go to Insert feature on your tab. You will see something called Zoom. Click on the arrows below, and you will see a summary zoom feature. Okay, click on that. The moment you do that, your entire presentation will come right in front of you. Now, right now it shows 5 slides selected, which means the previous, the summary zoom slide that I created, it has picked up slides from there. So I'm going to first unselect all those slides because we are going to create a fresh one. So I'm going to unselect all these. Yeah, so now I have only one. Okay. Now you can choose all the slides that you want to highlight. For example, I want to highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe one more. These 8 slides, okay? Just do insert. It will create a new slide for you. Okay, right now it shows, I'm going to remove the background, etc. Plain white is fine. Put your topic like recap slide. And that's all you have to do. Now all of this has automatically been created. You can go to the slide from there. To come back, press the left side arrow key on your keyboard. You can click, go to that. To come back, press the left side arrow key. To go to next slide, talk about it, come back by using left side arrow. It's as simple as that. Also, if you want, you can make this as interactive as possible. Let me show you how. I'm going to give you another example. Now in here, what I've done is, I have put the images here. Like for example, if this is my slide, I have used this infographic, a computer vector file. Now, if I want to create a summary zoom, and I only need 4 pictures, click on Insert, Zoom, Summary Zoom. Now I'm going to unselect because right now I have a lot of selected slides. I'm only going to keep 4. In your case, since you'll be creating it for the first time, you will have 0 slides selected. So you have to manually select all the slides that you want to highlight or keep in your recap or summary slide. Now 4 are selected. I'm going to do Insert. It will always come on a new slide. I'm going to copy it on my slide that I want to copy it to. Adjust these 4 into the screen that I have. So you can play with it a lot and experiment and see what works for you. Look at this. And now this is my recap slide. I can go, talk about it, and come back. Go to the next one, talk about it, and come back. So that's how it works. You can also make it further interactive by I have used a basic background over here, like an office desk background that I've taken online that you see over here. Yeah, and I have put my slides over this. So I can go to that slide. So this is something that people won't expect you to do. So it suddenly makes your presentation 10 times more interesting. Yeah, so that's how also you can do that. Now I think we are done with all the features. I'm going to now open the floor for questions. So bring in all your questions. I'm sure that, okay, I can see already 10 questions that are there. I'm going to begin with those first. Is there any fixed proportion or percentage about how much should be the text or image or infographic? I didn't get this question, but how much should be text, image, or infographic? If you're talking about the areas on the slide, let me know, Zior. Sorry, I don't know. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I didn't get this question properly. Let me know. The second question is, hello, is there any way to integrate custom icons into PPT? For instance, our organization has custom icons and we are required to go back for the icon and files and copy paste every time. Is there a way to integrate them? So yes, you can integrate them, but unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to show it to you right now because so in 2019, definitely you can do that. In Office 365 right now, that feature right now is not working out at the moment, but you can integrate. So I will try to get back to you on this question, Priya. Are there any hacks, tricks, shortcuts applicable to Google Slides as well? No. So Google Slide has entirely different tricks and shortcuts. These PowerPoint shortcuts do not work on Google Slides. Is there any proportion or percentage about how much should be text or image or infographic on a slide? Okay, so I think this is a similar question to the previous one. So when we talk about this, you should always divide your slide into one third, three parts basically, out of which you can have a one third as picture, one third as content, and one third you can leave for your negative space. So that is one feature that you can follow. All right, the rule of 2/3 and 1/3. Okay, this online thing not available in lower version. Okay, sorry. How to make PPT more dynamic with regards to table charts and graphs being imported from MS Excel. If I update Excel file, then automatically it should be updated in the PPT. Okay, so for this, there's a trick. Whenever you're copying any Excel file, okay, when you go home, you generally go to paste, right? Whenever you're copying any file, let me actually show you 1 second. I'll have to open an Excel in that case. Give me 1 second. I'll stop sharing and open an Excel file to show you this particular feature that you're talking about, because I'm sure this is a question that a lot of people ask. Also, if you have any more questions, we have a couple of minutes to take the questions. Please feel free to ask any question related to PowerPoint. 1 second, I have to check out. Since I work on PowerPoint mainly, I have very, very few Excels with me, but let me see if I can find something that I can show you.
Yes. In the meanwhile, everyone, I've launched a poll. Please give us your valuable feedback on the session. It will help us curate more sessions like this and bring them to you. And also request anyone who wishes to speak to Shruti directly to raise your hand. I can move you to panel, and then you can talk to Shruti directly and ask your question. Thank you.
I'm going to create a basic Excel just to show you. So let's say that this is list and this is price, item A, B, C, D. And let's say the prices is 1200, 800, 1900, and 1500. Right? So if you generally are creating a bar graph or something, let's say if I have to copy it, I'm going to Control C and let's go to presentation. Whenever you're pasting it, come over here. Okay, come to paste from here and do not write, just do Control C, Control V. Let's click over here. 1 second. And click on the embed thing that you see over here. So they are use destination theme, keep source for formatting, embed, picture, and keep text only. Click on embed. And you will see your sheet over here, right? The thing that happens when you embed is if you change something over there, it will change automatically here. So if I'm changing this to, let's say, 1500 becomes 1800. So this will automatically get changed in your this thing also. I think for some reason it's not working, but you have to use this feature if you want the files to be embedded. But okay, another thing that you have to do is you have to make sure the Excel and PowerPoint are in the same folder to make it work. So right now I've created a random Excel which is not saved, so it wouldn't work. But if you have to make this feature work, put your Excel and your PowerPoint in the same folder to make sure that it works perfectly. All right. Okay. Let's see what are the other questions. Sometime I'm required to work out things in Excel and then convert that to PPT. Okay. Do we have branding zone over? Okay, 1 second. If we don't have the access to install an Office lab, then what are the other options? If we do not have the access to install an Office lab, I didn't get this question. I'm so sorry. Let me know what exactly is this question. I think the recording of this, Shiva will get back to you with the recording of this, since a lot of questions are about the recording. Are
Yes.
these features? Sorry, yes, Shiva.
Yes, everyone, please do not worry about the recording. You will get a link to with the recording of this session.
Perfect.
Let's focus on the presentation.
Perfect. All right. Okay. Could you explain how do we add a voice message? So in order to add any audio, for example, if this is my presentation, I can go to insert, go to audio. And when you click on audio, you get 3 options, right? So one is audio on my PC, which means any music or any sort of audio that you have on your system. Or you can click on record audio, which means you can record audio. If I'm talking right now, if I want to create a tutorial presentation, I can actually record my audio while presenting. So that audio will also get inserted. So that's how you can add the audio in your presentation or any voice message that you may have. Are these features available on older PowerPoint version? Okay, so features, summary zoom is fairly new, but even if you're using 2019, you will be able to see summary zoom. But I think besides merge is a newer feature, which is available only 2019 onwards. So as long as you're using 2019, you will be able to see most of the features. But I would really request you to update it to Office 365 because it has a lot more features. For example, all the beautiful icons that I showed you. So the previous version had very few icons. Now PowerPoint has inbuilt a lot of icons. In transitions also, there's a new transition which is called Morph, which is a newer one. But most of the features that I showed you, if you're using 2019, you will be able to see all those features. But if you're using something which is much older or outdated, like 2013, then it might be a problem. All right. Will Zoom feature will work while using slide changer? What do you mean exactly by slide changer, Jay? Let me know in the chat box. How many slides ideally should be present for a good presentation? So ideally, see, again, there's no right or wrong to this, but I think anything more than 15 to 20 slides, if you're going overboard than that, there's a chance that people might lose interest, but it completely depends on how engaging are you while presenting and how effective is the presentation that you have created. So if you think that you're able to hold the attention, it doesn't, even if you go, a little more in terms of slides, it's perfectly fine. So how you present and how your presentation is looking and how effective you have presented the data matters more, honestly. Okay. Let's see what is the next question. When online video is inserted, does that video work in PPT when internet is not connected? So no, you do not. You do need internet in order to make that video work. So yes, you do need internet connection. I don't have video on Google Slides. I'm a PowerPoint trainer, so my all videos that you see are going to be on PowerPoint itself. But because Google Slides has very few options compared to PowerPoint, if you look at the designing and if you look at the flexibility of what you can do with it. Okay. When is it recommended to use the design idea tool for making the PPT? So design idea is basically a tool that where actually PowerPoint AI can help you create a presentation. When you're running short on time, I think that is the case when PowerPoint design ideas will work very nicely for you. Also remember, it only works with a new presentation. If you have an older presentation and you're trying to revise it using design idea, it wouldn't work. And also design idea is only Office 365 feature. So if you're using an older version, you wouldn't be able to see that.
Shruti,
Okay.
we have some raised hands here. Can we take a question from the audience? If that's
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Sorry, I missed that. Sure, we can.
So I am bringing Preeti Parker from the audience. Preeti,
Sure.
if you can listen, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, hi Shruti. I have a
Hi.
question. Any font which we download in our system, does the same font we can see in another system also, or we need to convert the font?
Okay, that's a great question. I'll tell you that. So basically, whenever you download an external font and you're sending across your presentation to somebody else, and if they don't have they don't have the same font, your presentation formatting will go for a toss. In those cases, you have to embed the font in your presentation. So in order to do that, so if this is a presentation in which I want to embed the font, go to File, go to Options. Sorry, one second. Go to Save option that you see at the bottom here.
Mm-hmm.
This options, and once you open options, you will see save over here, general proofing and save. click on save, and you will see the option of embed files in the font. Okay, I'm going to click on it, and always choose the second option, which is embed all character, best for editing by other people, and do OK. So this will basically make sure that your fonts are embedded. Okay, I'm going to show this once again. Go to File, Options, click on Save, and click on Embed Files, embed fonts in the file, embed all characters, best for editing by other people, and do OK. So that basically ensures that your fonts are embedded. But having said that, I would always say that whenever you embed font, try to open that presentation on a different laptop to see it's working, because 98% of the fonts get embedded, but there's always those 2% of font which generally do not work with embedding also. So always check that, but you won't face that issue with most of the fonts.
Okay. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you, Shruti. Yeah. Thanks.
Great.
No problem.
So bringing on Rajat Jain to the
Sure.
panel. Rajat, if you can listen to us, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure. Hi, Shruti. So
Hi,
my
Rajat.
question is regarding the review, as you explained in the last. So, if we select any of the slide, it will go to another slide, right? So,
Sorry, come again.
suppose in this example, if you have this slide, if you are selecting one of the slide, so it will go back to that slide, right?
Correct.
So instead of that, if I want to select, suppose Joe Doe, then can it be possible we can go to other slide?
So you're saying one slide and inside of that another slide. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly correct.
So it is possible, but for that you have to go a little deep down into it. For example, if this is my presentation and you want that on this first slide, you want to go to another slide. Okay, for that, what you could do is, so in summary zoom, there's another feature. So this is a slide that you will be going to. Now you can go to insert some zoom and click on slide zoom. Okay, which means that you can actually embed one more slide into it. So for example, this is a slide, hypothetically. Okay. Now what you could do is when you actually click on this, you go to the slide and you can see the other slide and you can go and click on that.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So that's how you can go to that particular slide.
Yeah.
And you can come back as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Bringing along Priyanka Vermani.
Okay. Sure.
Priyanka, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and ask a question.
So my question was actually relating to whether we'll be getting the PowerPoint or not, or the recording. So yeah, you answered that already.
All right, okay. Perfect.
We will be able to share the recording, but not the PowerPoint, Priyanka. I'm so sorry for that.
Okay.
Thanks. Bringing along Sudhir. Sudhir, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I'm not able to find the Zoom in 2016 PowerPoint. From where I can get that Zoom one?
So it is actually a newer feature. So it was introduced in 2019 version. So you will have to update your PowerPoint and Office to 2019, or even better, if you can do it on Office 365.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bringing along Rajat Jain. Rajat, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Rajat Jain.
Yeah, I've already asked that question earlier.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect.
Right. I think this Rishabh is our last.
Sure.
Yeah, Rishabh, you can ask a question. Rishabh Bhagava.
I'm Rishabh, the reporter here. So my name is Shruti. I'm with him. So my question is, I don't know how to make the custom slides. Like if I want to make the custom slide like vertical, horizontal, or I think so we can change it 3:4, something like that. I don't know how to do that part.
So basically, you are saying that from landscape to portrait, how to change the slide size, right?
Also customize landscape.
Customize. Perfect. Yeah. So what you could do to customize the slide size, go to design. From the tabs, go to design. There's a feature called slide size. So you can click on it and click on custom slide size. All right.
Okay.
The moment you do that, so there are two options. So for portrait and landscape, it's simple. You can either choose portrait and just do OK, and your slide will become portrait like this. But if you have to, let's say, customize the slide size and you don't want it to be portrait only, in that case, go to slide size, go to custom slide size, and you can actually type the slide size over here, like width and height. So for example, if I'm writing the width to be 20 and I'm writing the height to be 10 and do OK, ensure. So my slide size will instantly change. Look at this. So that's how you can customize the slide size. So I hope that answered your question. Hi, can you all hear me?
Rishabh? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Shruti will take one last question in the interest of time. Lokesh Navani. Lokesh, if you can hear us. Lokesh?
Hi, Lokesh, are you there?
Lokesh is not available. I think we can, close the session here. Thank you so much, Shruti, for the wonderful and amazing hacks that you've shown us. Jaw-dropping, ideas that you've given us today. We all knew PowerPoint, but we just got to know that we only knew 0.001% of everything. So
I'm really honored to be holding this session for all of you. I hope that all of you learned something new and you'll be using a lot of these in your PowerPoint. Yeah. I would love to know your feedback. I'm sure you can, Shiva will have a way to get the feedback, but please let us know how did you like the session, and you can check out these videos from my YouTube page and learn a lot more. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I hope you have a lot to learn from the session today, and you're taking back a lot of things that you can implement in your day-to-day life and get there where you wish to before the session. Thank you so much, Shruti. It was a pleasure having you today. We hope to do a lot of more sessions like this with you.
Absolutely.
And thank you.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for your beautiful comments in the chat box. Thank you.